Hi everyone, welcome to the third video in our Hoverboard for Robotics series. I'm actually on vacation, but working hard to get these done for you, so here we are. You'll have to put up with this scenery instead of my basement. In parts 1 and 2 of the series, we talked about the hardware for hoverboards that we can use in building our robots, how to mount the wheels and such, and what we can expect out of them. We talked about how we can hack the hoverboard and actually write our own firmware that controls the board instead of the stuff the manufacturer put in there. Here in part 3, we're going to talk about how to set that firmware up so we can use it with our ROS robots. We're going to cover everything you need to know about wiring, and finally how to use the ROS driver, so by the end of the video you'll be able to control your robot, or at least the wheels if you don't have a robot yet, with a ROS graphical interface, or of course your own software that can issue movement commands. Of course the mobile base you'll have in the end plays nicely with everything else you learned in Practical Robotics and C++, my book that I hope you purchase and enjoy. And let's not waste any more time.
Okay, setting up the firmware is a lot like we did in the last video, except instead of using Emmanuel Ferru's hoverboard hack, we're going to use a fork of it by Alex Makarov. He seems like a great guy and he did some great work for us. In case you're not familiar, a fork is simply making a copy of a repository that you intend to make some changes on. And that's what Alex has done for us. And specifically for ROS Robotics, this is great. I discovered his repository when I was getting ready to write my own, and it saved me a lot of work, and it will save you a ton of work. The changes he's made allows his version of the firmware hack to work seamlessly with the ROS hoverboard driver that he wrote that we'll get back to in just a minute. Not only does this pair of repositories allow us to control the hoverboard, it allows us to get data back and publish it as an odometry message. So back to the firmware hack. Just like before, we're going to copy the URL. I already have it, but if you don't, you would just type git clone, paste the URL, hit enter, and the repository will download. Once you've done that, just open up the folder you've downloaded in your favorite editor. I'm using VS Code. And then go to include and open the config.h file. The first thing we'll want to do is uncomment variant. Oh, I was using this for something else apparently. We're going to uncomment variant usart. Then we can really skip a bunch of stuff down to here around line 151. And I hate to give line numbers because these are evolving projects and code could be added somewhere to change the line numbers. But look in these control selections. We want FOC control, it's the default, and we want to make sure that speed mode is our control mode. There are other modes you can play with, but for autonomous ground robotics, speed mode is going to be the most appropriate most of the time. We can skip past a few more things and come to the default settings. These are a couple of general settings. One is the inactivity timeout. It states right here that it's not very precise. This beeps backwards define is nice. If you set it to 0, that will turn off the backup beeper. That can be pretty annoying if you've got a robot that's driving around all day. Or if you like it, you can just set that to 1. The ADC margins we're not using in this tutorial because we're going to use serial rather than an analog to digital converter. We will talk about those in the next video, where we set our hoverboard controller up so we can control it with a joystick. Now down around line 231 is the debug serial settings. This can be handy, particularly in ADC mode. It's less handy with Alex's firmware and driver because most of this data is already available to us, but perhaps you're having trouble with that. You could simply uncomment one of these. If you were to follow my suggestions, I would suggest uncommenting debug serial USART2 because I like to save USART3 for our control signals. All the rest of the code, all we need to do is find the one for the variant we selected, which was variant USART. And so here we are. I already have control serial USART3 defined and feedback serial USART3. You could also just uncomment them down here. Define dual inputs I haven't actually used yet. But if I were going to use dual inputs, I would actually use the variant ADC. And what that would do is define the left inputs to use a joystick and the right inputs for serial. I may mess with that in the not too distant future, and I'll let you know how that goes. But for now, we'll just leave dual inputs commented out, and so none of this matters. Now the only thing left to look at is the UART settings, and honestly you can probably leave them alone. I use pretty short wires, and and haven't had problems with noise interfering with the data. But if you were finding control to be buggy and glitchy, you might consider lowering the baud rate and seeing if that helps any. With those all set up, just save the file, back to your command line, type make, and use make flash to write the firmware to the hoverboard. Don't forget to press the power button the whole time it's being programmed. If you're not sure about any of these, go right back to my last video and follow those steps. Let's look at how to wire up our hoverboard controller to the computer that we're using. Wiring is very similar to the little test that we did in the last video, where we used an Arduino and a little supplied sketch just to run the motors back and forth a little bit. We hooked up ground to the ground wire on the right sideboard cable, and we hooked up the TX from the Arduino to the green RX connector on the right sideboard cable. You have a couple of choices to connect the control board to the computer you're using. If you are using a Raspberry Pi or a Jetson Nano with dedicated serial pins, you can connect directly from those pins to the right sideboard cable that we used for the Arduino test in the last video. If you're using a laptop, then you only really have one choice. As a reminder, the reason I like to use the right sideboard cable for serial control rather than the left is because the right sideboard connections are 5-volt tolerant. That means I could use a Raspberry Pi, a Jetson Nano, an FTDI, which is a USB to serial converter, or an Arduino, and many of those run at 5 volts. So it gives me all the options. If we were to use the left sideboard cable, that would take 5-volt devices off the table. It may not matter to you, but I like to keep my options open. So whether we're using an FTDI or the UART serial pins on a Raspberry Pi, we're going to wire them the same. We're going to connect the ground from our device to the control board ground on the right sideboard cable. We're going to connect the TX from our device to the green RX wire on the control board, and we're going to connect the RX on our device to the blue TX wire on the control board. And that's all we need. Don't try to connect that red 15-volt wire to your FTDI or Raspberry Pi, or bad things are going to happen. Now I'm using a Raspberry Pi, but I still elected to use an FTDI to get serial data to and from the control board. This makes it easy for me to plug in a USB extension cable to the Raspberry Pi that's mounted a little bit away from the control board. This not only protects the signal from noise a little bit, it also allows me to easily plug in my laptop instead of using the Raspberry Pi if I want to do some other testing or debugging. Now there's one more consideration, and that's an e-stop, or emergency stop. Although I find it useful for far more than emergency. The idea for an e-stop is that when you press a big red button, the robot's going to come to a halt. I like to keep one on the physical robot itself and a remote control one, so I don't have to be near the robot to stop it when it's running amok. More than just these emergency situations where the robot's going to crash or do something dangerous, sometimes it's handy just to stop the wheels but keep the system running so you can stop and look at data and try to debug what the robot is thinking while it's stationary. There's a couple ways to wire an e-stop with this control board. Now you could cut power to the control board, but there's actually quite a lot of current that runs through this board, and you're going to need a very beefy relay, and I think it runs the risk of eventually the contacts welding shut from the arc that's going to happen from it snapping open and closed. There's two much gentler ways that I found to stop the wheels on the control board without cutting the main power to it. The first that I've done is to put a relay in series with the TX wire from my device going to the green RX wire on the control board. By using a relay or switch to interrupt that signal, the firmware simply times out and stops commanding the wheels to go. Now this works pretty well for serial. Something I didn't consider when I did that is that it doesn't necessarily work for dual input controls. And for example, you're using the ADC on the other cable. If some malfunction happens on the ADC side, there's the possibility of the wheels simply going full speed forward or reverse or even in a circle. And if your e-stop is placed as I just described, that's not going to help any. Instead, I found that if you interrupt the red power wire going to either the right or the left Hall sensor cables, the control board will quit getting data from those Hall sensors and will be unable to command the wheels. That has the effect we want, of no matter which mode we're operating the control board in, it will stop the motors. So the next time I have my robot open, I will probably make that change. Okay, now it's time to get our ROS software set up. We want to use the Alex Makarov hoverboard driver. Of course, I'll link to this in the description. Just like everything else we want to clone, we're going to copy the URL to the repository, open a terminal. Of course, we want to clone it into our Catkin workspace in the source directory. From here, you just do git clone, paste the URL, let it copy. When that's done, cd ... because we want to be in the root Catkin workspace directory, And if any of this is foreign, we of course cover all of this in Practical Robotics and C++, the basics of ROS packages in the file structure. When we're here, we just type cat can make. I'm going to warn you that I already know of 2 errors that are going to happen, but I left them because I want to make sure that we get to cover them here. And we see invoking the make failed. While that's always disappointing, it's important not to let it get to you and just to go up and read the errors. Fortunately, this one's highlighted in red, CMake error. What this means is that the CMake file is requiring a package that was not found. Could not find a package configuration file provided by Control Toolbox with any of the following names. What that means is Control Toolbox was not found, so we're just going to install it. So we can just install it with sudo apt install ROS melodic. Replace melodic with the name of the ROS distro you are using. My robot actually still uses Kinetic, or you might be on Noetic, which is the most recent. So ROS-melodic-control-toolbox. And good deal. That is installed, so we can cat can make again to reveal the next error. I'm not sure if either of these errors occur on Noetic or melodic. I actually deleted these files to reproduce them for you, but they definitely happened on my Kinetic install. But I thought I'd show you how to handle them just in case you do. This time the stack trace shows us that ROS param shortcuts is missing, so we're going to do the same. Sudo apt install ROS dash the name of your distro, ROS param shortcuts. Now you'll notice that although the name is with an underscore, I'm using dashes, and that is a package naming convention. We name our ROS packages with underscores, and then in the package manager we name them ROS dash name of distro dash, and then from there we just replace all underscores with dashes. Now with that installed, we'll try to cat can make again. Good, and we had no problems that time. So there is one configuration matter I forgot to bring up. If you're using a Jetson Nano, it may not matter so much, but let's do this. Let's open the folder that we just downloaded, take a look, and include hoverboard driver config.h. The only thing you'll need to change is how you defined the communications port. By default, it's TTY-THS1. I think this is the standard UART on the Jetson Nano that Alex and a lot of the guys are using. Because I'm using an FTDI, I changed mine to TTY-USB 0. If you're using a Raspberry Pi, it may be AMA 0 or Serial 0. I'm going to change mine back to USB 0. Save. Head back to the command line and run cat can make again. And we are all built and done. Okay, let's switch over to a VNC view I have of my robot in my basement. It's just a little camera view of my gym area. And we're going to test the hoverboard driver with ROS launch hoverboard driver, hoverboard.launch. But the red you're seeing flash by, and what you should be seeing is a timeout reading from the serial port that you selected, in my case TTY USB 0. That's because we had to press the hoverboard button. Now if I was down there, I could just press the hoverboard button myself. I created a little service and a relay, and there, now that error has gone away. So let's look at the goodies that we get with the hoverboard driver. These topics in this namespace that starts with hoverboard are all topics that are available to us. Most of them we won't use too often, but we can check the battery voltage. Hoverboard connected topic gives us a Boolean value telling us if the hoverboard is connected. That would have returned false before I pressed the hoverboard button. That can come in handy to write software that will automatically press the hoverboard button as needed. This is my contribution so far to the project. These left wheel command position and velocities aren't needed so much unless you're doing some debugging. The hoverboard temperature, look at a manual for ROS firmware documentation. It stresses that you should be careful and calibrate this before you rely on this. What really matter to us the most are the odometry message and this command velocity message. As described in Practical Robotics in C++, command velocity, the CMD val, is a very common name for a type of message that contains a direction and the steering data that we want to give the robot. And that message is a geometry messages twist is the type of message if you need to look that up for whatever reason. We can test that we're able to drive the robot with ROS1 RQT robot steering, RQT robot steering. That gives us a little graphical steering interface. Now the default, when you first launch this, is probably just going to say CMD val. But don't forget, we need to include the namespace. So we need it to publish to this topic here, including this namespace of hoverboard velocity controller. So hoverboard velocity controller / CMD val is what we're looking for. Make sure my camera's up top there. Now I can drive my robot around. Don't mind the mess. I've got a lot of construction going on. Now the odometry message is simply named odom. We'll do this. There we go. Odom. Oops. Because I forgot the namespace. ROS topic echo. And here we can watch the position and the orientation of the robot in real time, as well as its velocity. Now this velocity, even though this looks like a large number, but yeah, don't forget this E minus 17. So this is effectively 0 because it's engineering notation. So we move this decimal over to the left because it's minus 17 places. I'll give you a little closer look into the lab. You can watch the position. I haven't cleaned up the lab in a minute. Been working on a lot of things. And there you go. Hopefully you didn't have any trouble and you're driving your creation around as well, or at least watching the motors go on the bench.
And I think that just about does it for this tutorial. Give us a thumbs up if you liked it. Let us know what you thought in the comments. Ask any questions. And of course, if you have any tips that I didn't cover or learn anything new, please drop that data in the comments below. I would love to learn more, and I'm sure my viewers would as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I am Lloyd, author of Practical Robotics in C++, and I will see you back soon for part 4.